Okay, so a lot of jobs say that they're offering training, but what they're really doing is a professional show and tell. So what they usually do is they show you how to do something a few times, they tell you how to do something a few times, and then they expect you to be able to do it on your own after that, and they disguise that as training. Um, but training is the process of doing some, being instructed to do something and doing that thing over and over and over and over again until you're capable of doing it on your own without instruction. So a lot of jobs, especially with, black males or black people in general, they'll say they'll show and tell instead of train. And they do this in order to, they have to have certain numbers in the office. They have to have a certain representation of black people in the office. And what they do is they'll bring a black person in and they'll say, oh, they'll not train them well. They'll not show them how to do certain things. And when the black person fails at the job, they'll say, oh, well, we tried with the black person. And then after that, they'll hire who they, a white person or whoever they really want to hire in order to get that person out of there. Understand, you are begrudgingly accepted in the corporate environment. So unless you're stellar at your job and you prove that you're stellar at your job, but there are going to be obstacles before you can prove that you're stellar at your job. And one of those obstacles is the training that they offer you. So once you're in training, and all the jobs really, they may call it onboarding, but they have a mechanism for training you once you get in there. So once you're in training, what you want to do is, in order to ensure that you're being trained properly, you want to take notes diligently. You want to recap your training at the end of the day or at the end of your training session. So whoever's they usually give the training to a senior level employee and instead of a manager or a supervisor. And so you don't want to rely on that employee's input to the manager or supervisor. So you want to record everything. You want to take detailed notes, and you want to document those things. And then you want to send an email at the end of your training session, at the end of the day, to that employee. And then you want to CC your manager or supervisor on that email. And then you want to ask for consensus. So if you trained for, half a day and you say how you worked on this many programs, you worked on this technology, you worked on this and that, you want to send an email recapping that. And then you want to say, we worked on this, this, and this. We spent this time on this, and we did this and this. Do you concur that that is the totality of our training? Something along those, you don't have to say the exact verbiage, but something along those lines. And then you copy the person who trained you and your manager on that and say, do you agree that this is what we discussed? This is what we trained for. And then these are the outcomes that are expected. And then you also want to ask questions while you're training. You want to say, an employee might show you something, a certain way to do something. And you might say, you want to make sure you say, well, is this the only way to do this process? Is there an alternative way? If so, can I learn that way? Is there a time allotted for that? If so, how do I incorporate that in addition to this training that I've just received? So you always, while you're training, you want to make sure that you're asking questions. You always want to stay in question mode. So whenever something comes up, don't be afraid to ask, because a lot of people, when they get on jobs, they want to prove their competence so much and they want to be good at their job so much that they leave a lot of questions on the table because they don't want to appear like they're not capable and competent enough to do the job. So they'll leave a lot of things on the table that they may have questions about and they may not fully understand because they don't want to appear stupid or less competent, so they won't ask the question. I'm telling you, forget all that. Ask the question, okay? Don't worry about how you come off. Worry about your job security and your ability to do the job for a long time, not just right now. So always ask questions. When they're showing you something, is there an alternative way to do this? Is there another way to do this? If so, what is it? How can I improve upon this process? Have you thought about this? You always want to ask questions and make sure you're abreast of everything. And you don't want to take the training that you receive as gold, like as the standard. You always want to say, Okay, so would it be would it be an accurate statement to say that I'm fully trained after receiving this, and this? If so, why? If not, why not? Are there alternative ways to be trained in this? Are there alternative processes that I should be aware of? You want to ask your manager in addition to the person that's training you. So you just want to be thorough. And then people might, they might question why you're asking so many questions. And you just explain it innocently, like, I just want to be thorough. I want to make sure I understand all aspects of the job so I can do it to the best of my ability. And, you have to really watch out for the employee that is training you, because they may have ulterior motives. They may see you as competition. They may see you as, or they may have a grudge against, a new fish coming in, or they may have a grudge against the manager for making them train you. So it's not necessarily personal, but they may have some personal things themselves that reflects their lack of training that they're giving you. So they may have, a grudge against the manager. They may have a grudge against, new person coming in. They may be insecure about this person's going to take my job. They may see that you're very sharp and aware and competent. So they may undertrain you purposefully. So you want to be on top of them. You want to ask them questions. And the most important thing is get everything in writing. So that's why you want to send that email at the end. The email is concrete evidence in case something comes up. So you always want to, it's a common colloquialism is CYA, what they say, which means cover your ass. You want to cover your ass in the office. You want to get everything documented. You want to make sure that you're being trained adequately. But a lot of times what I want to prepare you for is a lot of times they do this, dog and pony show of show and tell. And they show you how to do things. They tell you how to do things. And that is not training. When boxers are training, I don't know if you're a fan of boxing, but I am. When boxers are training for a fight, they go away. They have to train for 8 weeks in order to prepare for 36 minutes of action. So think about that. The fight is 36 minutes, but they have to train for 8 weeks in order to prepare for the 36 minutes. So when you go into a job, this is your career, this is your livelihood. So you want to make sure your training is adequate, because if not, they're going to get you out of there. And more than likely, they're looking for a reason to get you out of there. So you don't want to take your training lightly. Don't make the mistake of trying to seem more competent than you are and leaving questions on the table. Whatever you have a question about, ask it. Make sure you ask it. Make sure you document the answer, and make sure you get consensus on the things that you were, trained about. And then if you feel like you need additional training, don't hesitate to ask. But don't be like, I don't understand this. I don't know what's going on. No. Just say like, are there additional mechanisms for training? Are there additional processes for more training for an employee, not for me? Say an employee, in case they don't, they're not grasping the concepts as quickly as need be. And then you want to ask, what is the standard for grasping the processes that I'm being trained on? How soon should I be able to grasp these processes? You want to make sure that you're covering all your bases. So don't hesitate to ask questions. Don't, think of all the aspects, how soon you should know the processes, the technology, how soon you're expected to know it, how soon you're expected to be efficient or competent at it. Not just because there's a learning curve, but then there's a place where you're supposed to just go on your own. It's supposed to be smooth sailing. So you want to establish a timeline for that. You want to establish any alternative methods of training. You want to establish any alternative processes, technologies, whatever you can think of. Don't hesitate to ask it, because this is the time, and this is going to set the standard and the pace for how you perform your job in the future and how you're going to be evaluated. So I just want to give you some game on that. A lot of jobs disguise show and tell as training, and you want to make sure you're being properly trained to do your job. And then in addition, You want to ask other coworkers about their training process. You want to ask them, well, did you do this and did you do that, and how fast did you get this process, and did you have any difficulties with this technology, things like that, because they can, shed some light on their training, and you can see where you're being mistrained, undertrained, or things that you're missing. So don't hesitate to ask other people that are not necessarily training you, but may have some insight into what is supposed to be a good training session and preparing you to do the job. So I appreciate you guys listening, appreciate you watching. As always, if you want to learn more, grab my book, A Black Man's Guide for Working in Corporate America, where I talk about training. I talk about a lot of other instances on the job that you might have missed that you should be aware of. All right, the link is in my bio. It's available on Amazon. Appreciate you listening.